From the 1011 Now streaming studio in Lincoln, Nebraska, this is the End Report Husker Show.
Hi, everyone. Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio, joined with sports director Kevin Sjuts. Again, the big news of the day is Trev Alberts, Nebraska athletic director, reportedly taking the Texas A&M athletic director position. And we've already talked about this, Kevin, and so we're actually excited to bring in here former 1011 sports reporter, current KBTX sports reporter who covers Texas A&M, Nicole Griffith, who's down in College Station for some additional reaction to today's news.
It's like old times, Nicole. So good to see you. Thanks for joining us on what has been a very eventful day, both for you and for us here as well.
Yes, getting the gang back together. When I entered this career field, I didn't think these two programs would be as linked as they have been, but never a dull day.
Here we are. So, again, Nicole, everyone up here in Lincoln, again, flurry of news, obviously seismic for the university program. Texas A&M has been going through its own issues over the past several months. Again, losing their athletic director, firing Jimbo Fisher, and the whole coaching search. Kind of what's going on down there?
Yeah, I probably, like you guys, woke up to a lot of texts. Brent Zorneman dropping the news from the Houston Chronicle. It's been kind of quiet with the athletic search for a while. Ross Bjork, going to Ohio State to the Big Ten in the middle of January, that was decided. And it's just been kind of quiet. And I remember yesterday asking my sports director, like, hey, have you been hearing anything? And I talked with someone at baseball this weekend, at Aggie baseball, and they said that news was supposed to come down by the end of this week because of the SEC basketball tournament. He wanted to have a boss. He wanted to know who his boss was going to be. And so I knew something was going to come. I did not expect it to be Trev Alberts' name thrown around. I don't think Husker Nation expected that. And I think people are just kind of confused, surprised. Kind of any kind of adjective you can use there.
Nicole, had there been any hints of Trev Alberts, or was there a leading candidate for that athletic director position?
Yeah, not Trev. That's not who I would have had tabbed. With Ross Bjork leaving, Ross was an external hire here. So I think people were thinking they've gone to R.C. Slocum as their interim. He longtime football coach here, has filled the role as interim AD for a few times. So they were thinking of not giving it to him, but going to an internal candidate. And they've had a couple, people who have just been here for a long time, former athletes who are in high roles with athletics here at Texas A&M. But so we thought maybe it was going to lean toward being someone internal, so that's why it's so surprising that it would be Trev Alberts and someone from the Big Ten.
And I mean, Texas A&M obviously has a huge alumni base. You would think, again, for this position, they would like to go someone with some sort of Texas A&M connection, which again makes this news, reported news, again, all that much more surprising.
Nicole, let me ask you, I think a lot of fans here in Nebraska are having a really hard time wrapping their head around this move for Trev Alberts, if indeed he does go to Texas A&M. What makes that job appealing, in your opinion? You've covered that program, and not just football. You've covered the variety of athletic programs there in College Station. What makes that job appealing?
Yeah, I don't know if people in the Big Ten want to hear me say this, but it's the SEC, and SEC football has been leading for a while. Obviously with the changes and with the conference alignment, realignment, and whatnot. But before all of that, SEC was kind of the big dog, and I think Kyle Field, it's something special. Over 100,000 are there every home game. It's just interesting. I don't really know how to explain it. I wouldn't say A&M is at the top of the SEC. With Texas coming in, longtime rival. You have Alabama, you have Georgia, you have LSU. So it is very interesting that this would be an attractive job because where Nebraska falls in the Big Ten versus where Texas A&M falls in the SEC. So I know a lot of people are talking about, well, A&M has all this money, A&M has all this money. Well, they have money, but they're giving it to Jimbo Fisher right now. So it's, his contract's just $76.8 million, fully guaranteed, non-offsetting. So, and if Trev does come, they would have to buy out him at Nebraska, which is not nearly that buyout. And so, but I think just with Texas A&M, they have good programs. They just hired Mike Elko, who Ross Bjork hired Mike Elko. There was some drama with that because he allegedly hired Mark Stoops from Kentucky, and then that was not that did not come through to fruition. Baseball, they have Jim Schlossnagel. Volleyball just made the first round, or they made the dance for the first round. It's nothing compared to Nebraska. Men's and women's basketball are competing in the SEC tournaments. So I don't know. It's just who would not want to come to a SEC program? I don't know if I'm answering that.
Yeah, no,
well,
you did a good job. Sorry if I'm looking down and folks are like, what is Kevin doing? We just had a note handed to us, and this is coming from the University of Nebraska. This just moments ago. The official quote we have from the University of Nebraska is, Trev has not informed President Koborik, the interim president, that he has accepted another opportunity, end quote. So that's all we have right now, but that is the first communication we have received from the University of Nebraska. We obviously have reached out to the powers that be at Nebraska. We have also continued to have discussions with some of the people we know from the inside of our sources. So Nicole, that's good insight about Texas A&M. And you brought up the financial piece. Trev was the second highest paid athletic director in the Big Ten. So I don't know how much money plays into this. As we've discussed previously, Bill, maybe he was just a little unsettled with what's happening at Nebraska. But since we have Nicole here, and you just shined a pretty good light on what it's like covering Texas A&M and what Texas A&M has to offer, one of the big, I guess, it's maybe a misconception, or maybe you can tell us if it's accurate. How much power does the athletic director truly have at Texas A&M? Because it seems like, because there is so much money, and it also seems like some of the political figures in that state, they have kind of a hand in the athletics pie. How much authority and power does an athletic director at Texas A&M truly have?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think I'd make a lot more money if I knew that answer. But I think I've been here for 2 football seasons, coming up on 2 years this summer. And so I've only been here for Ross Bjork and Jimbo Fisher. And I was here when the Texas A&M lost to App State. And that was when people were like, can't have that. He's got to go. And so that was not this past football season, but my first football season. And so then this year, it seemed like Jimbo's 6th year, things were getting on track. But then all of a sudden, after Mississippi State, after a win, he's fired in the middle of the season. Well, towards the tail end of the season. And then so, you hear all the names that are being thrown around, the message boards. Who are you going to let go to get? Well, it seemed pretty prominent that Ross Bjork's guy was Mark Stoops from Kentucky. And people are like, how do you go from firing someone for nearly $77 million to bringing in Mark Stoops? That's kind of similar to a Jimbo Fisher. And that was dropped and squashed in the amount of time that it took me to drive back from the Baton Rouge LSU game. So how much of a role did he get? He had his guy, didn't even get to have his guy, and now Ross Bjork isn't even getting to see Mike Elko coach a football game because he's already going to Ohio State. But if you look at other sports like the diamond sports, the court sports, there's always going to be growth and championships and titles that people are doing. But at the end of the day, it's football that matters.
How visible has the athletic director been at Texas A&M? Because Trev's everywhere, and I know that could maybe vary based on the individual that holds that role. But in your experiences down there, is the AD somebody who operates behind the scenes, or is it somebody who's courtside on the sidelines? That's kind of the way Trev has been at Nebraska.
Yeah, Ross was always very visible. He had 2 sons, or has 2 sons. One was in high school and one was in middle school, and played at the local high school in football. So I would always see him there on Friday nights, and then he would be at the football game on Saturday. He would be at basketball, volleyball. He was pretty visible. So it would be interesting to see how that translates, see who the next athletic director is, if they're more hands-on or office approach. But from what I've seen, they've been pretty available.
Nicole, one of our last questions here again for those folks who are just tuning in. We're chatting with Nicole Griffith, former 1011 sports reporter, who is now down at KBTX, our sister station in Bryan, Texas, covers Texas A&M. So she's giving us some great insight on the development of Trev Alberts being targeted for the athletic director position at Texas A&M. Nicole, as we continue to look at this from all different sides, from Texas A&M's standpoint, now, like, the needle seems to be pointing up at Nebraska, which really makes this potential move puzzling. Where is the needle pointed with Texas A&M?
Yeah, that's a good question. They're chasing greatness, chasing championships that they haven't been to before. And now with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the conference, they just got a whole lot harder. And you don't know where they're going to fall in back. So the best year they had in SEC was the first year when they had Johnny Manziel. And I think that's what makes this move so puzzling, is like, what connections does Trev Alberts have to the state of Texas and to Texas A&M, the flagship university as a whole? Trev is from Iowa. I know you guys have probably beaten this down pretty much. He's from Iowa. He's the Nebraska AD, a Nebraska alum. His name is on the stadium. So that's just why it's so interesting or puzzling about how Trev could move a needle. And I mean, he could. Who am I to say that he can't? I think it's just very interesting to have this poll, because A&M has a lot of wealthy donors, and they have very short patience when funneling millions and millions and millions of dollars and not getting the results. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I will say Trev Alberts is known to be a very good fundraiser. So that is one. If you're looking to try to make some sort of sense of this, that could be an important piece of it. But, Texas A&M men's basketball, I think it's safe to say they've had an underachieving season. Probably going to miss out on the NCAA tournament. The football season did not go as they had hoped. Led to a coaching change. So, where Nebraska stands right now, Bill, Nebraska's in a really good spot.
There's work to do at Texas A&M.
I don't know that you could say Texas A&M is at a really good spot. Maybe, is that the appeal of the job?
Like Nicole just said, again, he's walking into a situation where he just did not hire the football coach. And he has I don't know if he has a prior relationship with Mike Elko, the new football coach. If I were an athletic director, I wouldn't want to be walking in with someone who just hired someone else. I would want my own guy. And again, like Nicole said, football is king down there. And so while all the court sports and diamond sports, might be going well, football is what the big driver is.
Well, I'm jealous. Nicole gets to cover baseball and softball and not have to wear like 3 coats and bring mittens and all that fun stuff. I know that you guys are right in the crossover season with SEC basketball tournament starting, and then also baseball and softball.
It was 55 degrees, and that was chilly. So I had to wear a hat.
Oh, so. Thanks for that. We would take that any day of the week. Nicole, thank you so much for the time. I think she would agree with us. It would just be insanely bizarre to see Trev Alberts wearing maroon. Not red.
I don't like that. Yeah, Nicole, appreciate your time today, all right? I know you're going to stay busy today, and I'm sure we'll check in again with you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Nicole Griffith from KBTX down in College Station. Again, she works for our sister station down there, but obviously covers Texas A&M. And Kevin, I just wanted to, again, pass along this tidbit. This is from Pete Tamill, again, online. Trev Alberts' expected deal with Texas A&M would be a 5-year deal that puts him near the top of the SEC and among the top 10 athletic directors nationally.
I want to know the number. He was already the second highest paid athletic director in the Big Ten. So is it that big of a jump? There is a little bit more money in the SEC. Mm-hmm. Maybe I shouldn't be so quick to say that. I mean,
but it is curious again that opens up a whole other discussion again with the conference expansion. I think 10 years ago you could have said, yeah, SEC is the king of the castle, but now with the Big Ten expanding, adding USC, UCLA, Washington, Oregon, I think they're on fairly equal footing at this point.
Yeah. Wow. Wild day. And, as time passes, Bill, I think more about what Trev Alberts has done as the athletic director at Nebraska. The quick answers are, as we've said, volleyball day in Nebraska, the completion of the Go Big project, Memorial Stadium renovation, which is coming in a few years. Those are some notable ones. But he also took the football team to Ireland. He helped preserve the sellout streak, and in that endeavor, he also brought on the red carpet experience. That was one of his brainchilds. So they're just. I've gone back and watched a lot of the interviews, and he's done a lot. He's pushed a lot of the right buttons, and that's why I think fans are really going to struggle if this does come true, that Trev Alberts leaves Nebraska. Yeah. And we've even had a couple of meetings here at 10-11, Bill, and one of the discussions we had was, well, what about a short list of candidates to replace Trev if he is to depart? I mean, it's really hard coming up with a couple of names. I have a few, but it's going to take some time to really process all of that and think about who would make a natural move and potentially take over that spot. Because it's so important.
Yeah, it's probably your most important hire. I mean, it's probably football coach, AD, 1-2.
And who's making the hire?
We don't know.
They don't have a university president at the moment.
So, again, we'll continue to follow this, again, all day. We've been following it all morning. Again, nothing official yet from either the University of Nebraska or from Texas A&M. Again, as soon as we have that official word, again, we'll obviously come back on and let everyone know. But, again, all the reports continue to indicate that this is likely going to happen. All the reports so far have kind of been from the Texas side or a national side. Yeah, and that's kind of normal for any kind of coaching change, athletic director change. It comes from where they are going, not where they are leaving. And, as we were on this, Bill, we got information from the University of Nebraska. It reads, quote, Trev has not informed President Kaborik that he has accepted another opportunity, end quote. Also, there is no update at the moment from the University of Nebraska on the search for a new president. And so I think tonight in our newscast, again, in our meeting we talked about, is we want to kind of dive into where is that process at, because it was important to begin with, but it is even more important now. So we'll continue again to follow this. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in, for watching. Kevin, again, thanks for your time. Again, thanks to Nicole for joining us down from College Station. Appreciate her time as well. Again, keep it tuned to 10-11 all day today, on air and online, for all of the latest on this breaking news.
You've been listening to the N Report Husker Show from 1011. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 Now app, on YouTube, or wherever